Cold calling is about to get a lot harder than it already is. And if you're still running the same scripts and strategies from 2023 or even 2024, you're gonna get absolutely crushed in the next 12 months. Here's why I'm so confident in saying this. The infrastructure around cold calling, the carrier filters, the compliance landscape, even the buyer behavior is all shifting right now. Most sales teams won't even notice any of this until their KPIs are completely cooked. But it isn't all bad news for everyone. If you know what's coming and you adapt now, you can actually gain a massive edge while your competitors start slowly giving up on cold calling as a whole. You might be wondering, why should you trust me on this? And the reason is simple. I'm absolutely tapped into the pulse of cold calling. And over the last 5 years, I've personally made north of 500,000 cold calls to generate $8.5 million for my agency across dozens of different industries. And I've been behind the scenes long enough to understand things that most people just haven't done enough reps to actually see. I'm already seeing clear patterns that tell me exactly where this is headed. So in this video, I'm walking you through the 6 biggest changes that I see coming to cold calling. These are the ones that will either make or break your outbound in 2026 and beyond. Seismic shift number 1. Apple and Android call screening will nuke your first attempts. Modern phones are now the gatekeepers. iOS 26 uses on-device AI to analyze unknown callers in real time. So calls can be screened, silenced, or routed to voicemail, or even flagged before the user knows that you've called. Google Pixel and Samsung, they've had this similar feature for quite a while, but because buyers in North America primarily use iPhones, sales reps are gonna feel this shift more so in the years ahead. So if your opener isn't clear, trust building, and instantly human, you're screened out. So here's how to combat that. Number 1, your dialing system, whether you're using a phone or some sort of software, must instantly connect to a human voice. That's you. And number 2, you have to have a tailored intro for those screening AIs. So mine is very simple but effective. It'll sound something like,
"Hi, thanks for calling. Can I ask who you are and what you're calling about?"
I'll say something like, "Yeah, this is Micah. Was supposed to chat with John Smith." And then sometimes it'll prompt them to go to the next one and it'll say,
"Okay, great. Can you tell me a little bit more of why you're calling?"
And then I'll say something like, "Yeah, it's work related," right? So very simple, very straightforward, very pointed, and doesn't give up too much for them to instantly, block you out. The biggest thing here is as long as you say something that a robot wouldn't say or doesn't sound like a robot, you can really get past the screening AI. This is really the next version of caller ID, and a lot of SDRs aren't prepared for it. So watch out for that. Seismic shift number 2. Carrier level spam filters are getting scary good. Major carriers like AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile now use AI to flag suspicious calling patterns in real time. So if you ever seen potential spam or scam likely labels, they're killing connect rates before the phone even rings. These algorithms look at call velocity from a number, answer rates, call duration patterns, complaint rates, and a few other factors. So if you're burning through numbers without properly warming or making 100+ dials a day from one line, you're getting flagged within days. Most teams don't realize that they're labeled as spam until it's too late. And literally, the prospect will never see your call coming through. Fortunately, there's softwares that combat this. Check out Glen Coco, check out Phone Burner Armor that monitors the phone numbers, or there's plenty of ways you can do that yourself if you're running a cold calling campaign. Seismic shift number 3, stir shaken and the compliance crackdown. FCC's stir shaken framework now authenticates caller IDs to prevent spoofing. New rules around consent and call recording laws are getting much stricter, especially in 2-party consent states. Carriers can now legally block calls that fail authentication. So if you've ever seen like the local ID, right? Numbers that come from the same area code as you, using local ID presence dialing, so basically spoofing area codes, is becoming riskier. And also it's just a dying strategy. So a lot of buyers who get calls from local IDs pretty much decline the calls because they know it's a spoofed area code, right? The margin for gray area tactics is disappearing. So compliance really isn't an option anymore. Seismic shift number 4, the do not engage cultural shift. An entire generation of buyers, millennials and Gen Zs moving into decision-making roles, are actively hostile towards cold calls. So a lot of them grew up with spam calls, robocalls, scammers. And cold calling has a trust deficit that email just never had. Gatekeepers are better trained and more proactive than ever. Just email me is the new default response, even from people who've taken meetings in 2019. So even though AI calls are considered robocalls and technically illegal without prior consent, there's no shortage of rule breakers that are sending out millions of these calls to your prospects. This makes it even harder to cut through the noise. So cold calling is increasingly seen as intrusive and not persistent. The way you get ahead of this is to have a cold call talk track that can cut through that noise and make you sound completely different than every other person that's called them. So I have multiple videos on the winning cold call talk track, and that's really your best bet to stand out in the sea of average sales folks that get instantly hung up on. Seismic shift number 5, the dialer arms race and why you're losing. Power dialers and parallel dialers have flooded the market. Call volume has exploded industry-wide, and so prospects are getting hit by 3 to 5 cold calls per day, creating massive burnout. The competitive advantage of high activity is gone when everyone else is doing high activity. So your, measly 100 dials a day that used to stand out is now just noise in a sea of other callers. The key point here is the quality of your target list, and timing is much more important than raw dialing volume in 2026. So get ahead of this by learning how to build good calling lists and following up effectively. And finally, seismic shift number 6, multi-channel integration isn't optional anymore. Cold calling as a standalone channel is dying. It only works as a part of a sequence now. It's okay if your first attempt is a call itself, but it needs to be paired with other channels of communication. This is table stakes to show you're a real human at a real company doing real business. So if you call someone and they don't pick up, you can leave a voicemail saying, "Hey, this is John Smith from ABC Company," then emailing them, johnsmith@abccompany.com, plus a LinkedIn connection of you from ABC Company and you're John Smith, where they can look up ABC Company. It's probably you from ABC Company. So the question is, do you know who doesn't do that and only makes calls? Scammers, right? So if you get an unknown number and that's it, and that's all they see, that's their entire interaction with you, you don't exist in their world. So calls don't start trust anymore. They prove it. And multi-channel is the new minimum standard. Now, with all that, cold calling still works. And I firmly believe that it'll work for a long, long time. People, especially in the modern era, are going to crave genuine human connection. And these trust-based conversations at scale are really what's going to move the revenue needle versus all the digital white noise that your prospects facing every single day. So if you want to see proof of that, click right here to go to the next video where I show myself cold calling from scratch into a brand new market all the way until I make my first sale to show that this still works. We'll see you over there.